Welcome back to Vast RC. My name is Ryan, and in today's video I'm going to give you an update on the Crawler Edition Stampede 4x4, so stay tuned. Alright, let's talk about the motor and ESC combo. So if you saw in the last video, I mentioned that I was going to use the XL5 ESC along with the 21 turn brush motor, and that's exactly what I did. Now I'll admit, this combination is not quick at all, especially in a Stampede 4x4 or like this vehicle, it's a Hoss. Same thing. But like I said, it's got a 14 tooth pinion, definitely not slow. I've tried it out on 2S and 3S. While 3S does help a little bit, this is by no means a performance setup when it comes to bashing. But like I mentioned in my last video, this truck is really intended for rock crawling and trail running, and for that, I think this combination will do just fine. Okay, let's talk about the servo next. So for this build, I picked a high-tech 7955 TG titanium gear servo. Puts out around 355 ounces of torque. And to be honest, this is a really old servo. I've had this thing for probably close to 8 years now, but have it around, it still works great, and it works really well in this truck so far. And absolutely has no problem moving those big old tires around. And so far so good. I am running this on the XL5 BEC, which I know is like notoriously underpowered, but so far it's been okay. But definitely think down the road I'm probably going to add a BEC, or better yet, I'll probably just change the ESC altogether and get something that's a lot more stable. Alright, last thing to talk about with electronics, let's talk about the radio and transmitter. I'm going to keep this quick. I went with a really old combo, Spectrum DX2E radio system. This thing is probably like 10 or 11 years old. But I'll be honest, I've had it around the entire time. It's worked great. And for this build, I wasn't trying to spend a lot of money. So I guess you could say it's like a budget trail edition build. But it's an old radio system. You have it on the screen. It's nothing special, but it works. Alright, let's talk a little bit about the driving characteristics. So at this point in the build, I haven't locked the diffs yet. So what you're seeing now is just me bashing at the park over the weekend. As you can tell, this thing actually turns, it doesn't turn great, but it does turn quite well, at least for now, while the diffs are open. But I'd imagine as soon as I lock the diffs, this thing is going to be terrible on the concrete. But as you can see in the sand, it's definitely a blast to drive. Like I said, it's not very fast, not a ton of power, but I think in a small area like I was at with this park, it's just fine. And definitely when I get this on the rocks, it's probably going to be a lot better. But as far as other things with driving characteristics, it doesn't even have enough power to do a wheelie or anything like that. But in the sand, I had a lot of fun. Definitely with the big tires and the increased ground clearance, helps a lot to get over some of the smaller obstacles. But like I said, I'm really excited to see how this thing does on the rocks. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it. I'd say my favorite part of this truck is just really the suspension action that this truck has. Being that it's a Stampede and it's more technically supposed to be a monster truck, just punching the throttle and seeing that front end suspension go up is just probably my favorite part of driving this truck, to be honest. And I'd be doing a disservice if I left this section of the video and didn't at least mention that I did wreck this truck even at low speed, which is a bummer. And the bummer thing about this body is it has a dent now, so that sucks. I actually got a dent here on the front hood, and I got one on the right front quarter panel, but it just comes with the territory, right? So it sucks, it's no longer a clean body, but at least the paint still looks reasonably clean. Okay, next steps. So like I said, I mentioned a couple times, but the next thing really is just to lock the diffs. I have to get some 20 million weight grease. Gonna lock up all 3 diffs. Gonna be really curious to see how this thing does on the rocks. Also too, the reason why I haven't gotten it done yet is because the weather in my area hasn't been so great. So it really is not feasible for me to get out on the rocks at the moment. But as soon as that clears up, I will get on the rocks and I will lock the diffs. Also too, like I mentioned in my last video, I am looking to switch up the wheel and tire combo at some point. Most likely going to go with the same wheels, Proline Raid beadlock wheels, but looking to go with the Proline KO2 short course tires, which will lower the tire size down from 5 3/4 inch down to 4 3/4 inch, and should help me to be able to bring in the wheels on a 0 offset and help give a little bit more scale look, while not sacrificing too much in ride height, hopefully. So like I said, once those mods are done, or actually probably even before I finish those mods, it's really just at this point making sure that I lock the diffs and get this thing on the rocks and see how it does. Alright, so we're at the end of this video. That's all I got for the update on this Stampede 4x4. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and like, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And let me know what you think of this truck in the comments. I really appreciate any feedback I get. And I'll go ahead and see you guys on the next video. I feel the power surging, ready to take